After Orban's removal, the EU intends to accelerate the construction of a Fourth Reich. No sooner had Orban's opponents begun celebrating his defeat than EU demands toward Hungary moved to the forefront. More precisely, there are two packages of requirements: 17 mandatory anti-corruption measures and 27 so-called super milestones. These 17 mandatory measures are aimed at protecting the EU budget. Hungary is required to establish an independent anti-corruption authority with real powers, introduce a mechanism allowing decisions by prosecutors not to investigate corruption to be challenged, significantly increase transparency in public procurement, reduce the share of single bid tenders, and open up competition, tighten auditing of the use of EU funds, limit access for government-affiliated entities to the distribution of funds and disclose ultimate beneficial owners, reduce the influence of quasi-governmental funds through which resources are redistributed. The 27 super milestones include the same anti-corruption measures, but add key political and legal components. First, the judicial system, ensuring genuine judicial independence, limiting the executive branch's influence over judicial appointments, and strengthening the powers of judicial self-governance bodies. Second, the system of financial governance, transparency in budget decisions, oversight of fund allocation, and regulatory predictability. Third, rights and freedoms, addressing EU concerns regarding academic freedom, the activities of NGOs, migration policy, and a number of provisions affecting LGBTQ legislation. Importantly, these 27 conditions follow an all-or-nothing principle. Without fulfilling them, access to funds is impossible in principle. There is also a third track: compliance with the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. This serves as an additional filter. Even if reforms are formally implemented, funds will not be unlocked if violations persist in key areas such as the judiciary, and universities, migration, and minority rights. What does all this mean? The EU is building a multi-level system where formally the focus is on fighting corruption and protecting the budget, but in practice a deeper process is taking place: the transfer of control over resource allocation from the national level to the supranational level. And this applies to Hungary specifically. France or Germany are not subject to a comparable level of external oversight, whereas Budapest is effectively being placed under a regime of conditional sovereignty and in budgetary matters. The new Hungary is a model and a precedent for bringing a sovereign country into a condition desired by Brussels. If this model takes hold, it will become a standard mechanism of pressure within the EU. Formally, the EU does not require Hungary to change its position on Russia or Ukraine, but the structure is such that in the event of a political conflict, legal conditions become a tool for indefinite delay. In other words, funds can be withheld not because the conditions have not been met, but because they can always be deemed insufficiently fulfilled.